Hello again, this is Anna Escarzaga with Remax Island Properties, and today we have Kyle Scott in the spotlight. Kyle, thank you very much for accepting the interview today.
Thanks for having me, Anna. It's awesome to be here.
Thank you. Kyle, let's start asking, are you from Victoria or do you come from somewhere else in Canada?
Yeah, actually, I'm not from Victoria. I've been here about 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, so small town on the prairies.
And what is that you like the most in Victoria?
Oh, it's absolutely the weather, hands down. Best weather in Canada.
I cannot agree more with you. I cannot agree more with you. Kyle, I am curious to know, there are a lot of mortgage brokerage already working in within Canada. Why did you decide to found Landmark Mortgages?
Part of it is natural progression in the broker space. You know, you start
Uh-huh.
out working for someone, you have guided mentorship, everything like that. Eventually you go on, you want your own brand and your own company. Part of it is I really wanted to teach new brokers coming into the space how to avoid the same mistakes that I did, how to grow their business, and how to get out there and help as many people as possible.
You mentioned something that which mistakes you made that you want to teach brokers not to make.
Well, there's a lot, but
Just a few. You just mentioned
yeah.
a few.
So
Yes.
one of them is their focus. I find a lot of brokers come into the space more worried about how to get files done rather than servicing the client and keeping the
Okay.
client updated. So
Uh-huh.
providing that underwriting support is a big one, because when you first start out, you know, the course doesn't necessarily teach you how to run the business. It teaches you a little bit of the technical background. But I think being client-centric is the most important and the quickest way to grow a book.
So when you mean client focus, because something that I know is that there are some institutions that may pay you a higher fee if you bring the clients to them. So when you mean client focuses, are you, so we can say that you don't care about the money that you may make, but to service the client 100% and working for them
Mhm.
instead for the institutions?
That's part of it. Absolutely. It's important to not basically count the commission, and you have commission
Uh-huh.
breath. You're not looking out for the best interest of the client. But also it's getting a mortgage is really a stressful thing a lot of the time. So it's giving the client enough communication, enough updates, and letting them know that you're there for them and that you're on their side. The worst thing is that you go a week without hearing anything from your mortgage broker, and you're making one of the biggest purchases in your life, and you don't know what's happening, and you don't want to bug the broker, you don't want to reach out and bother them, but you want answers, because I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars are on the line.
Something that I hear a lot with my clients is I'm okay, I'm pre qualified. And I know that there is a difference between pre qualified and pre approval. Can you please explain to us the difference between the pre approval and the pre qualification?
Hmm. Absolutely. Very, very important distinction. A pre-qualification is, let's say you phone me and we go over some details, and based off, where your approximate credit score, down payment, your annual income, everything like that, I can give you a ballpark of what you're
Okay.
going to be qualified for. So that's a pre-qualification. A pre-approval is going through the steps, so getting all the documentation, taking a look at your credit, and having a complete file, submitting to a lender, and getting a rate hold in place as well. So the pre-approval is much more meaningful. Anyone, you can go online, you can find calculators and get a pre-qualified amount, but that doesn't stop. Hurdles can still happen along the way. So by submitting all the document up front, we can vet your file and actually fix mistakes before they even happen, before you have that house in mind. So the pre-approval is pivotal compared to the pre-qualification.
That's very important. And I may think they need to submit a lot of documents to have the pre approval that usually we don't have in hand. So that may take some time, no?
Not really. It's generally pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, I find most clients in a day or two can get me everything I need, and then usually within 24 hours from there, we have a rate held, a budget in place, and clients are ready to go out shopping. Um, it's it, Usually it's not too complex, but of course it depends on every client situation.
So what you're telling me is that when a buyer is pre-approved, you already have all the documents. So when they submit an offer and they have an accepted offer, like how long it will take for you to get the financing ready instead of if they were not be pre-approved.
Hmm. Um, Usually it's a day or two with the
Oh wow.
documents in place. Um, it can sometimes be that quick without the documents, but when you get an approval back and we don't have any of your documents, there's not much meaning behind it. It's just a piece of paper because no one has reviewed anything.
Okay.
So it's really speed is one thing, and then with the documents we can decide on the best lender for you. But it's also having that peace of mind, knowing that the bank's already reviewed it, they already know what your credit looks like, everything like that. If we just submit a file, they'll come back and say yes, condition on everything we're going to ask from you, anyways.
Okay. You mentioned just something that is the best lender for you. So the different lenders can be or can work different or in more convenience for one profile of buyer than from another profile of buyer, or how this works.
Absolutely. Different lenders will have different specialized programs
Okay.
depending on your profession. Some lenders have frontline programs, so for teachers and police officers, firefighters, things like
Hmm.
that. Some have projected income. Some are good for people who are self-employed. So it really depends. Maybe someone moves around a lot, so they need a lender who offers better rates at shorter terms because they know they're going to be moving around. So it completely depends on the borrower's profile.
Okay. I have noticed that here in Victoria there are like smaller lenders, like very local lenders, and the big banks, no, the big ones. So, but there are some differences. So, what would be the most important difference between going with a local lender or a bank with headquarters, I don't know, in Toronto or Nova Scotia or whatever?
Hmm. Great question. I would say that probably the biggest difference is they can sometimes play by different rules. So I'm sure you've heard of the stress test, right?
Yes.
So
Can you
when they
explain
go,
the stress? Sorry, I interrupted. Can you explain the
yeah,
stress test so for people to understand it?
absolutely. So typically, when you go and qualify for a mortgage,
Hmm.
you have to qualify at a higher rate than you're actually getting, so that down the road, if rates change, we basically know that you're still qualified. But what that does is actually reduces buying power
Okay.
uh, for everyone across the board. Now, when you're working with a credit union, they a lot of them have products where they're not actually stress testing you. So that means you're qualifying for the mortgage that you're actually getting at the rate that you're actually getting. So a lot of times this means that you're able to be approved for a lot more than with a bigger bank. And it's a lot better service because they're local, they understand the area, they're not as picky about certain things. So you end up with usually a lot higher qualification.
I think that's great news because the stress test is something that really reduces our purchase power here. Kyle, outside of working, because you need to have a balanced life, can I
Yeah.
know a little more about you? So you have kids, you have pets. What do you like doing when you're not working?
Um, no kids, two cats. With my better half, um, hiking is I think every Islander likes to hike. Golfing, gym, swimming. I've recently picked up speed swimming as a hobby. So, um, yeah, I think that's it. I'm kind of boring.
I don't think so, but I will ask your better half. Okay, so for your ideal vacation, you're a beach person or you are a city person, or what is your ideal
Oh,
vacation?
definitely a city person. Absolutely. I want to go and see some sites and learn about local history, museums, everything like that. Yeah, I want to go and really learn what it is to live in that place.
All right. When is your next vacation?
Um, Hopefully more sooner, but my next planned one is next May.
Okay, so you're going to be in the island helping anyone who needs your help to get an approval for a mortgage.
Absolutely.
That's great to know. That's great to know. Can you, let's say if you were a younger you, which piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Hmm. I would say be relentless with customer service. When you're first starting a business, you have to wear many different hats. You have to be marketing, you have to be sales, you have to be fulfillment, you have to do all these different things. But the one thing that I can never compromise on is the customer service part of it, is that fulfillment. So no matter how many hats you have to wear, the number one priority is always the customer. And I believe the best businesses do only a few things very, very well. And I think as a mortgage broker, customer service should be that number one priority.
Thank you. And which one would be your first advice to someone who is going to be a first time buyer in the future but is not ready yet, and maybe they are starting to think about getting ready so they can purchase in 2 or 3 years in the future? What would be
Mhm.
the most important advice that you can give them?
Start early and speak with the broker. It's super, super important. That planning stage is pivotal. Um, you want to start as early as possible to find out if there's anything that might be stopping you. There's always a limiting factor, whether it's credit or down payment or whatever it be. A lot of the times we can fix it, but it just takes time. So if you go out hunting and you find that perfect property, but you haven't prepared, it could be a much bigger push, where if you start early and just work on it bit by bit, things are a lot easier and a lot more digestible.
If a client, or if someone is starting to think that maybe they want to purchase or feel ready to purchase because they don't have the cash down yet in 1 or 2 years, can they contact you so you can maybe have a look in their finances and tell them what to pay or what not to pay? It's very common that we have some debt in the credit cards, and also it's very common that we're buying a car and we have some debts in the car. So can someone contact you and ask you for advice even if they are not ready to purchase, so you can prepare them?
Absolutely. Really, that's what I'm here for, is to prepare. And you're 100% right about the credit card debt or car loans or whatever it may be. You have to know if those things are holding you back,
Okay.
and you have to know what to pay off where and how to save.
Kyle, where can people contact you? Do you have like an email address or a telephone number where they can contact you?
Yep, my email is kyle@landmarkmortgages.ca. My phone number is 250-889-1686.
Kyle, thank you very, very much for being with us. And if you know anyone, you who are listening to this interview, if you know anyone that would like to be interviewed or you want to be interviewed, please do not hesitate to contact me. This is Ana Escarzaga with Remax Island Properties. Kyle, thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Anna. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.